welcome to today's class. We are using two spiky balls, if you have them, or massage balls. They're quite squidgy and they've got this nice spiky, prickly surface which helps to make it a little bit more interesting and wakes the fascia and the connective tissue up a little bit more. You could use a tennis ball or two tennis balls, a little bit firmer, a little bit smaller. Do what you can. These ones are the best, and they're the ones I'm going to use. I think one of the sites I get them from calls them stimulating massage balls. So there you go. We're going to start with it underneath our feet, which is the most loveliest thing you can do. So standing on your weaker leg, we're just going to have a bit of a massage and a waking up of the underneath of the feet. So rolling the ball forwards and backwards, turning your foot sideways. This shouldn't be too uncomfortable, hopefully. If you need a little bit of support from the wall or the back of a chair while you're standing on one leg, then please do that. Just waking everything up. Standing quite nice and tall, and then we're going to take some stepping onto the ball. So I'm just turning sideways for you. Same foot, stepping onto the ball, and the ball, the middle of my foot is sort of draped over the ball. So we're stepping onto it and stepping back again, rocking forwards and backwards. So providing a sort of compression over that ball. Good, and then I'm going to carry on staying at the side. I'm going to put my heel down into the floor, same foot, doing the same foot until I ask you to stop, and then we'll see how that feels. And then I'm going to roll the foot at the ankle. From the front, I'm keeping my heel pretty much in the same place, and I'm turning my ankle, I'm turning the outside edge of my foot one way and then the inside edge of my foot the other way. So it's sort of rolling over the dome of the ball, if you like. Really nice for the ankle, something that we don't get to do very often. The last part of this is going to be what we call a rinse. So you're going to take the ball roll it along the floor from your toe joints, the ball of your foot, just past your toes, all the way in a straight line through to your heel, and then step back off of it. So we're only going in one direction, toe to heel, toe to heel. That was supposed to be my next toe. I normally do this with my melt balls. Have a look up melt if you have never heard of it. It's an amazing system for your fascia, and the melt balls are much smaller, but this is sort of creating a similar effect. Not quite as efficient, but it feels quite nice. Rolling all the way forwards. Remember not to roll on the way back, applying quite a lot of pressure as you go through there as well. Brilliant, and then just lose that ball for a moment. Have a little walk around. Notice how that foot feels in comparison to the other. And then stand with your feet hip width apart. And maybe close your eyes, standing in good tall posture. Some adjectives that I would use to describe that foot, but also that leg, is it feels softer, it feels lighter, it feels sort of lubricated, if you like. The other side, the other leg feels a bit stiff, a bit wooden, a bit tighter, heavier. Although the foot that I've just done, that side, I'm more aware of the floor. So some people say it feels a bit heavier when they first take their assessment. Take a little roll down, chin onto the chest, keep that pelvis in neutral. Just hang from your waist. And notice whether you feel longer on the same side with your arm as you just did the ball. So I just did my left foot and my left hamstrings and everything just feel a little bit looser. And then rolling back up. You might not notice that so much, but hopefully you will have noticed all those other things. So let's go to the second side. So the first one is just waking everything up, having a roll forwards and backwards. You can do this sort of thing with a golf ball. A golf ball's quite hard, a little bit harsh. It's quite nice to have a bit more give, which these balls do have. My melt, there's a soft ball, soft melt ball, and a harder melt ball. And you really notice the difference when you've got the harder one, which doesn't have any give. So I'm just rolling forwards and backwards, doing a little bit of a scribble, noticing if one foot feels different to the other. So actually taking some circles as well, which you can't really do with a smaller ball. That feels quite nice. And then I'm going to go into the compression, or just stepping over. This is quite tough on the balance, so be a little bit careful. Trying to let my foot relax, and I'm allowing the sole of my foot to sort of curve over the ball, if you like. If any of this feels uncomfortable, then just don't do it. It will feel quite different with a tennis ball, especially with this stuff, because it's much firmer and a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to put my heel into the floor. I need to bend my other leg slightly and roll the ankle from side to side. Great for the ankle. Just articulating the feet in ways that we don't normally. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm just facing forward so that you can see it at a slightly different angle. My ankle stays where it is. Knees are going over the toes. So for a lot of people, this movement of that ankle joint from side to side isn't available. So try and work on that a little bit if you can, if you find that really tough. And then our rinsing. So you want the balls to start quite close to you, and then you're rolling through all the way through to the heel and returning. Roll all the way through, trying to go in a nice straight line. This is to work the plantar fascia, the connective tissue underneath your feet. And it basically goes in a straight line from your toes, from each toe. It doesn't only do this, but the most prominent set of connective tissue there, the fascia, is these straight lines from your toes, from each toe, and it sort of gathers at the heel. And feels quite nice. Brilliant. Losing that ball, noticing again, having a quick reassessment, feet hip width apart, close your eyes. Now hopefully both feet feel a little bit tingly, the backs of my knees feel a little bit more relaxed and softer. My whole leg, both legs, feel like they're a bit more fluid, which is what we're after. Great, opening up the eyes. Let's take a hamstring stretch with a hip hinge. We're just going to step back, so let's take a little mini hip hinge. Feet are hip width apart. I'm going sideways just so that you can see this. Digging my fingertips into the crease at the tops of my thighs, sending my bottom back, and then I'm going to step back onto one leg, keeping that same alignment with the hip hinge, pulling the toes up on the front foot. And you should, if you're in the right position and you're truly doing a good hip hinge, you should be getting a bit of a hamstring stretch and the back of the knee stretch and the calf stretch. And then take the opposite arm across and imagine you're shaking the hands of a small child. Not that you probably would ever be doing that, but you might be. So you're there. And then coming up to stand, swapping legs, hinging at the hip, stepping back, pulling the toes up, beautiful straight leg here, finding that biting point for the hamstring stretch, but actually it's not just my hamstrings, it's the back of my knee and my calf, and then reaching across with the opposite arm, allowing your shoulders to rotate a little bit. So if I've got my left foot in front, if I've got that foot on the outside edge of my mat, I'm also reaching my hand sort of to be in line with my foot. Let's do that a couple more times. So stepping back and reaching. Let's turn it into a more dynamic stretch now. I don't quite know what to do with the other arm. I'll just keep it by my side, I think. Noticing that my spine is staying in neutral. So even though I have quite good hamstring length, I'm still managing to get a nice stretch there, all the way up the back of the leg, give the legs a bit of a shake. Brilliant. We're going to stand on the balls with our heels on the balls, which is why you need two if you can. So heels on the balls and just take a little bounce. Slightly odd. Little bouncing around, and then just start to rotate around the spine. Lower the upper body. Again, this is very melt style. We're sort of just getting the brain to find that central line. My knees are soft. My spine is fairly upright when I'm here. Maybe keeping the head forwards as we would normally do. Rotate around the spine. Knees over the toes, going down again. Taking the arms side to side. And coming up. And then seeing if you can just balance on those heels by pulling the toes up slightly. Great. And as I say, my balls are quite strong. I've had these for years actually, but they're still able to cope with the weight of me standing on them. Perfect. We're going to take hold of the balls again. So we're starting to come into the sort of thing, our Pilates exercise, we don't necessarily need to have the balls. But if you've got them, it just helps to fine tune your awareness of what we're doing. We're going to take a roll down. In fact, I'm going to face this way. No, I'm going to go sideways actually. So my feet are hip width apart. We're going to hold on to the balls in each hand. We're going to take a really nice roll down. So starting with the head, chin onto the chest, then allow the balls to just roll down your legs. So my arms are staying straight, but I've just got that connection with the balls to my thighs. They're sort of stopping just above my knees. I've tried not to, I think I have done it a little bit, but I've tried not to stick my bottom out too far behind me. I'm trying to keep my hips over my feet. From this point, so the upper body is rounded as much as possible, I'm trying to maintain my neutral at this point. When you can't go any further here without changing all those things I just said, let the arms hang, slightly soften the knees, and now continue your roll down all the way to the floor, making sure those hips are above your insteps. Just nod the head, shake the head, make sure there's no tension. Let's push down onto the balls and straighten the legs. Maybe flatten out your back a little bit if that's available to you. It might not if your hamstrings are a little bit tight. Go again, push down the hand, the palms on top of the balls, just to give that little bit of extra something to think about. Staying there, I'm just going to turn around to face the camera, so I'm square. Keeping the head down, staying with that straight leg position, just take, in fact, sorry, you need to take your feet a little bit wider. Let's go outside the shoulder width apart, and then let's take seesaw hips. If you watch me a moment before you do it, you should be able to see that my hips are dropping from side to side, which is why I call it seesaw hips. My shoulders are staying exactly where they are, both legs are straight. It's quite a strong stretch. Then we're going to lift the chest up a little bit. Let's keep those balls together underneath your shoulders. So I've flattened out my back a little bit. I'm going to bend one knee and I'm going to reach the ball up on the straight leg side, opening up the chest, coming back to the ball to the floor, bend the other knee. The hips drop, similar to what we just did, but a bigger, slightly bigger movement. Open up on the straight leg side. Try and get that straight line between one arm and the other. Bend the knee, straight leg, opening it all the way up. Come back into the centre. So we're rotating the spine around your centre. Obviously this can all be done without the balls there. Let's walk the feet in a little bit more. Soften the knees. Let the balls hang as you roll up. Push that pubic bone forwards, unravel through the spine to come all the way up to the top. Wonderful. We have got one ball between the ankles and the knees. Balls between ankles and knees. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. Ankles, so just behind or below the sticky out bit of your ankle, so your feet are nice and parallel. Maybe between the knees as well. That might be a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes in this position, these balls can be a little bit uncomfortable, and you get these marks. I've just got some of them on my hands. You get these marks as if you've been abducted by an alien. Anyway, I'm digressing. So from here, we're going to take a nice narrow squat. In fact, I'm going to take that one out for the moment, and I'm going to circle it around actually. Let's change this. So let's keep the ball between the ankle, not resting on the floor, it's just slightly lifted up. Let's take the arms up, overhead, and change the ball in your hands. So the ball is going around in the same circle. Just going to lift this up slightly. It's probably made it a bit wonky now, but so the ball is between your ankles, not resting on the floor. Legs are beautifully parallel. The ball goes up. I'm changing the hand above my head, and then down, changing at the hips. 4 times up to the top. Actually, let's go 3 times, and then let's change the direction of the ball. So keeping the shoulders broad, keeping the shoulders down, up to the top. Great. We're going to go up to the top, and then when you change the ball at the front at your hips, we're going to stick the bottom out and come into a nice parallel squat, changing the ball in your hands at the front, up to the top, and reaching the bottom back to the top. Reach the bottom back. I'm just going to go sideways. I'm going the other direction now. So from nice and tall up to the top. Send the bottom back. Check out my knees. They're behind my toes actually, not in front of my toes. Sending the bottom back, hinging at the hips. 3 of those. Let's add to this. When you take the ball up, we're going to take a rise. We're going to lower the heels, and then we're into the squat. Straightening the legs, arms are at the side, up to the top, lowering the heels with straight legs into that squat. Straight legs, rise up, lower the heels, come down. Let's go the other way. Straight legs, nice rise, lower and squat. Straight legs, rise up, lower and squat. One more variation, going the other way if you can. I'm going to go sideways again. Adding the rise if you can. I just need to come slightly forwards of the wall. We're going up to the top with the rise. You're coming down and lowering your heels. This time, if you can, it will mean you need to do a deeper squat. Change the ball from hand to hand behind your knees. Straighten, rise, lower the heels, change the ball behind your knees. Try not to let your back collapse. Try that on the other direction if you can. I'm just putting this back into the window. It's to stop having that shadow on the mat. And I'm not going to edit that out today. I normally would do. So just watch when you're doing the ball behind your knees. Don't compromise the shape of your spine. Still in a beautiful neutral spine. If that's too much and you find yourself rounding, take the ball in front again. Whew, okay, enough of that one. Let's pitch forwards. Okay, so we just need the one ball. You're going to stand on one leg. You're going to have the other leg out behind you, and your arms are going to be out to the side. I'm going to be here. Taking the leg behind you, and we're hinging over at the hips. If you can, a nice 90 degrees. I'm cheating a little bit. Cheat if you want to and have your hand being able to touch a wall there, or the back of a chair, or the back of the settee, or whatever. I'm going to try and come away so I'm not cheating too much. Come into this pitch forwards position like a capital T. I'm going to keep my leg bent for today. The shoulders are level, shoulders are parallel to the floor, shoulders are level with each other, hips are level with each other. Let's flex that foot at the back. We're going to change the ball below towards the floor and then into the other hand 4 times. 3 and 4. Then I'm going to take the ball behind my back, keeping it round and above my head. Behind my back, above my head. 3 times in each direction. Behind my back. It's quite tough. Above the head, behind the back, above the head, and whoa, that was a nice hip hinge coming out of that. Whew, I've stuck my foot to the mat, it was so tough. Right, let's try that on the other side. I'm going to stay facing this way. Hips and shoulders square to your front, the short end of the mat if that's how you're working. Leg behind you, hinge over that hip. Nothing else changes. Arms out to the side, parallel to the floor. Remember to keep your chin tucked in the back of the neck nice and long. Flex that back foot so the heel is extending away. Lower the hand, opening, lower the arms, open out to the other side for 4, 2 more here. Watch your hips don't lift up. My back hip really wants to lift up. That was 4 of those. Now I'm going to change behind my back, above my head. 3 times in this direction, above my head. Woo, behind my back, above my head. Nope, I've lost it. Woo, this used to be my stronger side, but I've spent so much time working on the other side now, it's become my weaker side. I'm going to finish off with 3 in the other direction. Above my head, behind my back. 2, a little bit of cheat on the wall there. Good, I'm going to bring that ball above my head and hinge out of that. Oh, that was tough. Great job. Meant to say, actually, should have said, you don't even need to be in your capital T for that one. You can just be slightly off of the floor. But that last movement with a flexed foot, again, the arms are still moving at the side of the body. That's the point of that one there. Great job. Okay, we have a bow and arrow in first position. So, Pilates first, ballet first position. Let's go from a parallel position and then lifting the heels up, turning the legs out in the hip socket, activating the turnout muscles, squeezing the backs of the knees together, lifting pelvic floor, initiating and activating the gluteal fold, your turnout muscles to hold that there. And then we're going to take the ball in front of your chest and extend your fingers. And let's first of all keep the arms straight and just pull the shoulder girdle back. So if I go a little bit lower, and if I, first I'll go to the side. So I'm in my turned up position. The ball ends up at the wrist of one hand and the fingertips of the other. Hips are not joining in. Great, then we're going to add on from your turned out position. We're holding the turned out position, it keeps the hips nice and still. We're going to reach one arm forwards. Now you're going to bend the elbow. Elbow up but shoulder down. You're going to itsy bitsy spider that ball along the inside of your arm, across your chest. When it's underneath your chin, turn and look behind you. Open up that back shoulder even more, keeping the elbow high, and I've reached the front hand even more forwards. Extend the arm out behind you. It won't be completely behind you, that's absolutely fine, because we're working hard to keep the hips square. And then come back round to the front, swap sides. Reach forward, straight arms to start with, then bend the elbow. Then itsy bitsy spider along the inside of that arm. When the ball comes past your chin, turn your head. Now's the point to reach that arm forwards more. Go past your shoulder. When you can't go any further, extend it out behind you. Push that same side hip forwards a little bit and come back round to the front. One more each side, a little bit faster. Itsy bitsy spider. Underneath the chin, open up the head, push the hip forwards, reach that front arm even more forwards. Can you go a little bit further before you come round? Last one. And obviously this could be done with a tennis ball. It's just quite nice with the spiky ball to feel that connection on your chest. I'm pushing my hip forwards. I'm trying to turn my head as much as possible, opening up that back arm, reaching the front arm forwards, and then coming round. Noticing that because you're in that turned out position, there isn't really much shift in the legs, and that's exactly what we want there. Good job. We are going to come down to the floor. On all fours. Okay, so we're on the floor, on all fours, hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips, spine is in its perfect neutral. I've got both balls nice and handy. We're going to thread the needle and then open up the chest. Take hold of one ball. Just put it behind the wrist of the arm that's closest to the camera. You're going to take the back hand, you're going to put it on the top of the back of the hand on the top of the ball, and we're going to bend the elbow and stretch this arm through. It's like I'm trying to take my ear down towards the floor. So my front arm is bent, I'm getting this nice stretch and roll through with the ball. Coming back to that same position. Let's just stick with this bit first. So let's do 3 or 4 of these, rolling through. The idea here is to try and keep your hips really nice and still. So you're not sending your bottom back, you're not pulling away from the movement. We want to keep the hips really square so that all the rotation happens in that upper body. Staying on this same side, bring the ball to underneath your face, keeping that other arm exactly where it is, and then take the ball completely out to the side. You might not be able to see it, but I'm at a right angle to my body, and then I'm going to try and lift up, but I'm lifting up, and let's lower the arm to the floor. Lower the arm to the floor, touch the floor with the ball. Open up the arm on its own. So what I'm doing there, if I face forwards, actually is probably easier. I picked the ball up, I was here, I've lifted the arm out to the side, 90 degrees to my body, without changing anything in the shoulders, and then I'm opening up from there, and that is really quite tough. And it's probably showing, as I'm facing the camera, that I'm trying to lean away from it. My body really wants to lean away from it and cheat. Try not to let that happen. And equally, don't just do the arm on its own. Get the whole shoulder girdle going. Brilliant. I'm going to swap balls for some bizarre reason and do the other side. So you're going to start with the ball behind the wrist on the other side. Place the back of the hand, the fingertips on with the palm facing up on that ball, and then bend the supporting arm. Take your ear down towards the floor. Try and keep your hips absolutely still. Come back to a square position, but keep your fingertips on the ball. And then roll it out sideways. Looking at the ball, following that hand. Keeping the legs still. Hips square. Again, no leaning if you can help it. Shoulders start really square and then they rotate away. In fact, maybe I should show you this here as well. There. So look at the angle of my shoulders at the beginning, just square box as normal, and then they're going off on a diagonal and I'm reaching that arm through. Then taking that same arm out to the side, being really square, lifting the arm up so it's at right angles, and then trying to open up the thoracic spine. That's really quite tough. Stopping with the shoulders parallel to the floor. Open the arm only and then open up. 2 more of these if you can. Really nice and square. I shall probably cringe a little bit when I look back on this video because I'm probably trying to cheat. So try not to lean one way or the other to help you there. Oh, great. Okay. Seated chi ball and forward bend. Brilliant. We only need 1 ball for this one. We're going to have those legs out in front of us. This is a really nice flowing movement. And again, you don't necessarily have to have a ball at all. We have done it before. It's just quite nice to have the ball to something to sort of focus on and hold in your hands. So let's go from here. We're going to, from sitting nice and upright, you're going to draw the ball in towards you as you take a pelvic tilt. And at the same time, draw one knee in. And then extend the leg and extend the arms up. So we're really scooped under in the pelvis. Then I'm going to, as I lower that leg, reach up to the ceiling. I've got my feet pointed at the moment. My back is nice and in its neutral curves. I'm right up on my sit bones. Then I'm going to flex the feet and roll all the way through, starting on the other side. So from this forward bend position, point the feet as you roll back. Start to draw that knee in as you bring the ball into your chest, really nice and rounded. Stay rounded in the spine, which means that this bit should be fairly easy. Arms are replicating or going along the same line as the leg. Lower the leg, reach up to the ceiling, flex the feet. Will that ball go a little bit further this time? Let's do 2 more. Pointing the feet, draw the knee in. Extend, reach, but try not to let the shoulders be too rounded. Lift up to the ceiling. Your favourite film star is about to save you by coming down through the ceiling. I'm not sure what he's saving you from, but it's going to save you. Reaching forwards and then 1 more. Point the feet, draw that knee in. You're back past your sit bones, you're on your tailbone. Good. Lower the leg, reach up, reach up, reach up. Shoulders are lifted, I don't mind. And then relax all the way forwards. Just take hold of those feet or that lower leg if you can. Just have a little pause there. That should have felt quite nice. Good, great job. We are going to put the balls underneath our pelvis and our sacrum and bring the legs up into tabletop. This might not be for everyone. You could, if you have a roller, it's sort of like a nice short roller, you could maybe put that underneath your pelvis. It's going to be a little bit different with the balls underneath there, and of course depending on what size balls you've got. I wouldn't do this for tennis balls, they're going to be too small. If you have an overball, a Pilates overball, that would also work for this. So I'm lifting my hips up, placing the balls in the middle of both buttocks, sort of, but I feel like my pelvis is evenly weighted and in a good neutral. Drawing the belly button in a little bit, maybe slightly tucking the pelvis under, slightly imprinting, just to make sure you've switched on around here. Elbows on the floor, hands on your hips, and then we're lifting one leg and then the second leg into a tabletop position. So tabletop, as you know, knees directly above the hips, feet slightly higher than the knees. We're just going to extend one leg and bring it back in, extending the other leg and bring it back in. There's nothing wrong with just doing this without the balls on the floor. Making sure shoulders, collarbone is nice and relaxed, extending and lowering, extending and bending back in. The reason I said lowering is because that's going to be the next bit. We're going to extend and lower towards the floor and lift back up and bend in. Extend and lower towards the floor. Let's flex the foot as we lower towards the floor. Point the foot as you lift up, bend the knee back in. Pointed foot, flex to lower. Lifting up with a pointed foot, coming back into 90 degrees. Extend, flex as you lower, point as you lift. So 45 degrees with that straight leg. Let's make this the last one each side. Lowering the heel, checking with your hands that pelvis isn't changing. 90 degrees here. Try not to bring those knees in too much. Lifting, drawing in. One last exercise, extending that leg. Let's extend the leg up towards the ceiling and just take some circles. Now these circles are going to be as big or as small as you want to do, as long as your pelvis is not rocking and rolling from side to side. Change direction. It's quite tough. About 5 or 6 in each direction, bending that leg, straightening the other one up and circling. So again, I've still got my elbows on the floor, my fingertips touching the hips, checking that everything is staying secure and strong in my torso. If I span my fingers and thumbs apart, I can really feel that my ribs are connected to my hips. I'm switched on in that torso in order to keep the body stable whilst we do this. This is quite strong. Bending the knees, let's come down and down. Lift the hips up, take the balls away. Ooh, and then when you just put your hips back down on the mat, it feels like your buttocks have disappeared. Feels like they've evaporated. It should actually feel quite nice as well. Great, okay, we are going to create what I call tulip arms. So the arms are really rounded. In fact, I might just face this way so that you can see this. I'm going to have to put my mat square, otherwise it's all going to be awkward. So I'm in my base position, arms are rounded, feet and knees are hip width apart, my spine is in neutral, my elbows are out to the side and my arms are rounded. So this is why we call this tulip arms. Both arms are going to open at the same pace, but they're going to stay in that nice shape. So what I mean by that is I'm not straightening at the elbow, and I'm also not bending at the elbow. I'm keeping this lovely rounded shape. Imagine you're hugging something. You're hugging a tree, and then you can only move your arms from your shoulder joint. So hopefully the backs of the arms, maybe the elbows touch the floor, but you open up in the chest and then you come back. Let's just do one arm at a time. Out to the side and back to the centre. Out to the side, back to the centre. If we were doing Pilates breathing, it would generally be a breath in as you open out. I just realised how fast I was going then. And a breath out to return. Breath in and breath out. Let's add in fact, let's change it up a little bit. So now straighten out both arms. Don't lock the elbows out, but take the arms so the hands are above your shoulders. Now reach up. And you should be able to see that one shoulder blade is completely lifted off of the floor. I feel like I've drawn that shoulder blade around the rib cage wall, and then I'm just letting that shoulder melt back down to the floor. And then the other side. This is very one-sided. I want it to be one-sided. Straight up and then draw down. It's a nice stretch from your spine outwards to the side seam of your torso. Last one, reaching up. And as you can see, hopefully from this camera angle, there's quite a lot of movement going on there. Brilliant. Okay, come back to your rounded position. So we're going to go one arm out to the side. The opposite leg is going to do a knee fold at the same time. Then you're going to come back and you're going to reach the same arm that did the knee fold, yeah. So not the arm that did the opening out. Reach that up to the ceiling and come back to Tulip Arms. Same arm again is moving. Opposite knee does a knee fold. Back to touching. Foot goes down on the floor. So when you do the reach, we're not doing anything. Reaching up and back to Tulip Arms. Elbows out to the side. One more each side. Knee fold and arm out to the side. Reach the other arm up. Same side as the knee fold leg. Back to Tulip Arms. Same side as going again, but you're knee folding the other side. Don't worry if you get confused with this. I seem to remember teaching this a while ago and the whole class were really confused. Reaching up and coming back down to Tulip Arms. Fantastic. What have we got next? Oh yeah. In fact, I might stay where I am for the moment. We're going to place the ball, one ball between your knees. And we're going to take 3 levels of oblique twists or hip rolls, some schools of Pilates call it. We're going to start with the feet on the floor, the ball between your knees, arms out to the side, palms up, and feet and knees are together. This is a hip twist. We want to move the knees, we want to keep the soles of the feet squeezing together. Sorry, not the soles of the feet, the insteps squeezing together. And then you're going to roll and come back to the centre. Keeping the ball, just when you take the knees to one side, relax your grip on the ball a little bit. When you bring the knees back in, squeeze the ball for all you're worth. Particularly with that underneath leg. Relax the grip so it comes back to its round shape. Let the hips go, the knees go over. So the hips go with the knees, but the shoulders don't. That opposite shoulder is pinning down to the floor. You could almost turn your head in the opposite direction if you wanted to. From there, squeeze that underneath knee in, so creating an oval shape in the ball. Relax. Over to one side. A breath in, make sure the opposite shoulder is still in contact. Pull the legs back from your rib cage. Push the rib cage into the floor. Maintain a neutral pelvis. Let's go one more time each side. Breath in. Knees are quite relaxed. Squeeze the knees together for your breath out to return. Soles of the feet stay together all the time. Collarbone, shoulder blades equally weighted. Squeeze to come back. Similar thing but harder. The legs are in tabletop. Lower back is in its neutral. If this is too much for you, keep the legs down. Notice that you can't go quite so far over to the side. Reaching over to the side, I would keep a constant tension on the ball now between your knees. Keeping the feet together. So I'm squeezing my insteps together. I'm keeping a constant tension on the ball. I'm allowing my pelvis to go over to the side, but I'm not moving the shoulders. I'm not even going to move my head this time. I'm going to try and keep my neck nice and relaxed. Notice that my feet are going with my knees. Sometimes I see this. The feet stay in the middle and the knees go to the side. That's cheating. We want the legs to go all the way over. Pull back from the ribs at the back. If you're working hard on this, if you're working as you should be, it's quite difficult to pull back. Quite strong. Last movement, the most advanced one, the ball between your ankles. Legs up nice and straight if you can. Angle them away a little bit if you need to. Maybe lower the arms and put your palms flat. Open up the collarbone, just push into the backs of your arms a little bit to help you. Look at my big toes, they stay in the same line. What I mean by that is I don't end up with one leg longer than the other. That's because I haven't let this right hip go with me. There you go. Shoulders are level, legs are straight, insteps are straight and parallel. Woo. Yes, by all means push down a little bit on the opposite hand to help you to push back. Try and pull that rib cage back. Strong work on those obliques. Working in a neutral pelvis all the time. I'm going to go one more each side. And over to the other side. And well done, take that ball away. Woo, a little bit tough on the lower back, that one, I feel. So maybe just hug those knees in. Dexter's woken up and is eyeing the spare tennis ball. We're nearly finished, babe. If you can manage to behave yourself, that would be amazing. So if you feel like that lower back needs a bit of a massage, which I do actually, maybe cross your ankles over, hug your knees in, have a little roll around there and a massage on that lower back. Always just doing those sort of things when they instinctively come to you, because it will be the thing that your body needs. Good. We're going to do one more thing with one ball underneath your. I'm going to do two more things actually. One ball underneath your sacrum, and this is quite subtle. And again, you absolutely don't need a ball to do this. If you've got a Pilates Overball, it will work as well. I wouldn't do it with any balls that are smaller than these ones. If anything, you want a slightly bigger ball. But I'm just going to put it right in the middle of that sacrum. Remember, the sacrum is your triangular part of your lower back. And then just find your neutral. Find your neutral. It's quite wobbly, and that's actually what we want. So feet and knees are hip width apart. Relax that upper body. Check with your hands that your pubic bone and hip bones are on the same plane. You will be slightly tilted, but you should be on a bit of a diagonal from your hips to your shoulders. And then we're just going to take some pelvic tilts. So tucking under and then releasing back to neutral. Tuck under. Feel like you're rolling the ball towards your waistband. So remember, with your pelvic tilts, there's no activation of the buttocks. This is all completely relaxed. tuck that pelvis under. Feel like you're flattening out that lower back curve and then returning to it. When you return, it feels like your sacrum, your hips are heavy on the ball. This also could be done on a roller. And then if you're still comfortable there, let's try, and this is quite wobbly as I said, we're going to take some pelvic clocks. So you're going to drop your right hip down, you're going to roll around in that pelvic tilt up to the top, so 12 o'clock. So let's go 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock at the top is your pelvic tilt, 3 o'clock on the other side, 6 o'clock is your neutral. Rolling around the same way, 9, 12, 3 and 6. So I guess I'm going clockwise. Not quite sure if I am. And then I'm going to go the other way. From my neutral at 6, anti-clockwise, 3, 12, 9, 6, 3, 12, 9 and 6. One more. It doesn't have to be quite as big as I'm doing. I'm going quite large for this one. And then again, just take that ball away. Ooh, and feel how your lower back has just sort of disintegrated. Just take a moment to just rock a little bit from side to side and allow the blood flow and everything to sort of just gather itself back to a more normal position. Well done. From there, finishing off, we are coming up onto all fours. And just taking some nice spine circles on all fours with different hand positions. So fingers facing in towards each other first of all. And we're taking our horizontal spine circles. I feel like we did the feet at the very beginning today. This is just a little bit more focus on the hands. Hands and the wrists. Fingers, just waking everything up a little bit. Both directions, 3 or 4 in each direction. Fingers facing forwards as we normally would do, so this should feel quite comfortable. Fingers facing outwards, thumbs facing forwards. Each one just tweaking that wrist joint a little bit more, getting into the corners a tiny bit more. And then maybe finishing off with taking your hips back towards your heels, bringing your fingertips close to your knees with your thumbs out sideways. Roll through so that the palms are on the floor, take your shoulders forwards. And then from there, if you just gently reach the hips back towards the heels, you're going to get quite a strong stretch on that forearm, which is an area that we rarely actually stretch. And again, I can from here just take some small circles, or you might want to rock forwards and backwards and hold it there. Do what you can. Don't put yourself through pain, but push it a little bit. Changing direction. Great job. If you can, back on your butt, back on your heels, and let's just finish the whole class with some sea anemones stroke tarantulas. Hopefully we've woken everything up there, from your toes to your fingertips. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.